All right, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, and this is Smell Goods. Appreciate you stopping by, coming to hang out with me for a little bit as we go through this fragrance content that we've got here. First of all, how you doing? You doing all right? Staying safe, staying sane, and staying smelling good. That's all we ask on this channel. Listen, and of course, if you would honor so much, definitely hit that like, hit that subscribe, request notifications, and share. All right. But today's video, what I've got for you today is basically going through this year in review and the fragrances, the things that I have in my collection that garnered me compliments throughout 2024. Now, I'm not one of those people. I didn't keep track and say, okay, on this day I got 3 compliments and this day I got 5. I didn't keep track of that. This is just all of what stood out to me when I was looking at my fragrances, what stood out to me, and I could point to a situation or scenario where I received a compliment from whomever it might have been. But I wanted to just kind of, these are my complimented fragrances of 2024. Kind of consider this one of those end of the year kind of review type of things. But there may be some things that are in this list here that might be gems for you, things that you might want to put your nose on, check out, and maybe get a bottle for yourself if you haven't already. All right. And again, let me just also say, my experience may be different from your experience, and your experience will be different from mine. All right. Cool. Let's move on. Let's get started. We've got first up this one. As far as the bottle is newer in my collection, but it is a travel. It did start off with as a travel spray that I had when I was really first kind of figuring out kind of what I like, what I didn't like. But this one is Mancera's Black Gold, and that bottle. Let's see if you can pick it up and see, get it centered there. You can see nice black bottle, nice classy bottle, but typical Mancera type bottle. One thing I love about Mancera, they have that pressurized atomizer, which is just magic. I just love it. But this one, you've got some floral scents, you've got some leather in this, you've got some citrus in there, you've got some amber in here. It's just an all-around great fragrance that dries down beautifully. Again, that leather, that woodiness starts to really come through as it dries down. Definitely was one of the ones that even when I had it as a travel spray would garner a compliment here and there. And so number one on the list is Black Gold. And again, this is not in any particular order. This is not most to least or anything of that nature. This is just as I'm running through, as I kind of gathered them, these is kind of how I just put them in order to have them as an easy reach for this conversation. All right. Next one is one that is really coming on strong as far as this winter fall season. Get it strong, you'll get it in a moment, but Stronger With You Intensely. All right. This is the reformulated one. So this is the newer one that came out, but you've got that caramel. I think you've got pralines in this. You've got just a really nice, sweet, warm type of a fragrance that just works, in my opinion, works ideally for evening, but you could get away with wearing it to the office. But just be prepared, because it is a very nice, sweet fragrance that does not a huge explosion of Cedrat or projection, but does pop off a little bit. So number 2 on my list is Stronger With You Intensely by Armani, Imperial Armani. All right. Next one up. And this one is really a very recent purchase, not the most recent. Yeah, not the most recent of what I've got right now, but definitely very recent, but it's also making a play for one of my favorite fragrances of the year. And maybe we'll do a video on that as far as my favorite fragrances all for the entire year. But we're talking about, sorry, got a little carried away. We're talking about The Kingdom by Lattafa. This is their take on JPG Le Male Elixir, or Le Male Elixir. Let's just call it what it is, Le Male Elixir. This, you got tobacco, you've got vanilla, you've got just, this does a great job of representing that. But on its own, this is a fragrance that, yeah, it just works. It just works. I mean, this one, I've gotten few compliments. Other guys have just been like, "Lo, bro, what are you wearing? What is that? Where can I get it?" This is that type of a fragrance. It does project very well, room shifter type of a fragrance, and does perform pretty decently for me. All right, but Lattafa's The Kingdom, definitely one of my complimented fragrances of 2024. Next one up, this one is definitely a room filler. It will shift a room, it will clear out a room in some respects, because this is some very potent, very powerful stuff. You see that potent, that powerful. All right, we're talking about Lattafa's Atlas. This one right here, very aquatic, very marine. I always equate this to, this is not a beach type of a scent. This is the middle of the ocean type of a scent. This is sitting on a yacht somewhere in the middle of the ocean, off in the Gulf Coast, maybe in the Pacific, fishing, whatever. This is that type of a fragrance. It is a deep aquatic type of fragrance that just powerhouses through the air. Literally, I will tell you, go lightly with this. I've told a few folks, go lightly with this, just because it will shift a room, it will change a room, it will fill a room. But again, this is Lattafa Atlas, and I wore it a couple of times to work and did not fail to get a compliment or two with that. Next one up is one that I had, ran out, and this is one that will probably stay in my rotation for quite some time just because I like it. I like the house. It does a great job of what it's supposed to do. And I am talking about Mont Blanc Explorer, which it's baby Creed, right? This is Creed Aventus in the designer lane and does a pretty good job of it, but it does it very well. Some say a little synthetic smell. I don't know. My nose isn't that detailed, right? But it does a great job of being its own thing that is taken off of something else, if you will. Because here's the story with it. I didn't realize, especially as I was jumping into fragrances and really getting my nose on stuff and figuring out what I really liked and didn't like. I've had this since, well, I had a bottle sometime last year, re-upped it this year, but had not to that point put my nose knowingly on Creed Aventus. And so when I smelled this, I just fell in love with it, loved it. And then when I smelled Creed Aventus, I was like, okay, I get it. So this on its own, whether you know what Creed Aventus is like or not, great thing, smells great, does for me, it projects pretty well, and it has lasting power off of my skin, and did garner a couple of compliments throughout this year as I wore it periodically. Again, Mont Blanc Explorer. All right. One that is newer and has been a little polarizing for some folks. Some people say it's headache inducing. I didn't get that. It works perfectly fine for me. It is one that gotten a few compliments off of it as well, and it's almost like, take it with a grain of salt, it's almost like this has some resurrection power, if you will. What I mean by that is that it may seem like it's disappearing for a while, but then it just comes back strong when especially if you've sprayed it on a pulse point. I am talking about Hawas Black. This is, in my opinion, more Nishane Hasavat than it is Creed Aventus or even Absolute Aventus. This is more in the Hasavat. This is more in that pineapple, grapefruit, bergamot, of course. But I mean, there's just the amber, the woodiness, the earthiness that is in here as far as the oak moss. I personally like this fragrance, and it does a great job, in my opinion, of garnering some compliments. All right. And again, I'm sorry, that was Hawas Black. All right. Next one up is one that may not have gotten a lot of publicity, or it's probably been getting some pub, but I think because of the house that it's in, it kind of just slides under the radar in some respect. But I think that this is a great fragrance. Their house is a great house as far as their scent performance, not so great. But as far as the scents and the scent profiles, everything that they have pretty much is a nice fragrance. And I'm talking, of course, about Coach. And this one is Coach Green with that kiwi up top. This, however, again, I'll point it all the time. Coach, do something about your atomizers. That whole latch, I get it, but no, it doesn't work. But yeah, just a nice, fresh, spicy type of a fragrance that does work well as far as getting those compliments. All right. I think I'm gonna give you 10, but because I like y'all, I'm gonna actually give y'all 11. All right. Next one up. If you've been around my channel anytime, and first of all, shout out to all of y'all that joined recently. Appreciate you stopping through. And even if you haven't joined yet, you can do that now by that little subscribe button. You can hit that. All right. But this next one is one of my favorite from the House of Lattafa. It is one of my favorite in my collection, period. And I'm talking about Lattafa's Eternal Oud. This one, just the plum. You've got, what else? You've got grapefruit in here. You've got amber in here. This is their take, if you will, on MFK's Grand Soir. Does a pretty big up job of it. And when it dries down, it just dries down beautifully. It does have a nice staying power. The name Eternal Oud describes how long it stays, because it sticks around for a while on clothing and on skin. And this one, the last time I wore it before the summer hit, definitely I was walking through the airport. It probably could have gotten away with not wearing it just because it was so hot. We were in New Mexico, but in the airport, got a couple of compliments as we were in the airport walking through. This right here, Eternal Oud, is definitely on the list of complimented fragrances for the year. All right, next one up is one that I haven't worn it. I don't think I've worn it this winter yet. This was, especially as I was getting into fragrances, as I was getting into getting my nose on different things. This was one of the first purchases when I really started becoming a fragrance enthusiast. And this one was one that it did well in the very beginning. I might need to wear it out. We're getting into that season here in Phoenix where this would be perfect timing. I am talking about Lattafa's Khamrah. This right here, cinnamon. This is the one my wife refers to as Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Some say that this is their take on Angel Share. I don't necessarily see. I see how they're kind of in the family, but I don't think that that's what this was going for. I don't think this was going as a take specifically on it. But this, just a nice, sweet gourmand fragrance for me, works very well as a date night fragrance. So Khamrah, in fact, now that I'm bringing it out, I might have to bust it out and wear it very soon. All right, we're getting down to the wire here. I've got two more for you because I am going to give you guys a bonus one. This one is one that is probably one of my favorite fragrances in my entire collection. This is the one that was really my first jump into any type of niche fragrances. It's from my favorite niche house right now, and I recognize there are lots and lots of niche houses around. This is one that if you're on this channel, if you're kind of watching and you've gotten good with the Lattafas, you've gotten good with the fragrance worlds, but you want to kind of maybe jump up, maybe overpass some of those designer fragrances. I'm not saying anything, but if you want to jump past designer and jump into niche, I think Mancera is a great house for maybe getting your nose on some things that are considered niche. And this is my favorite. This is the Cedrat Boise, or Boise, however you want to pronounce it. But this is definitely, if I were to kind of try and count, if I were to keep track, I would probably say that this is probably the most complimented fragrance that I have in my collection. Granted, I've worn it in a variety of atmospheres, variety of situations. But this one right here just works very well. It is one of my favorite fragrances, and that is Cedrat Boise by the House of Mancera. All right. And then the last one, my bonus one that I'm going to give you, simply because I've worn it maybe twice since I've gotten it. And one was I was literally wearing like this one, and then the one that I got from another house that's in that same family. I was doing a side-by-side of them kind of down each arm just to kind of see which one maybe lasts for longer. And I'll probably have a video coming for that. But this one is very new in the collection, but it's already garnered a compliment or two. And I am talking about Game of Spades Wildcard, which is their take on Lafayette Street by Bond Number 9. Very, very nice apple, vanilla, tonka bean fragrance. Pretty close, about 90-95% to Lafayette Street. Does really good, and it's got one of those, look at that atomizer, just, yeah. All right, but that was the last one on my list. Again, Game of Spades Wildcard is another one of my complimented fragrances out of 2024. Now, also, I'll admit this does not take into account, because I have, of course, worn some decants and some samples out just to kind of test them, what have you. So this doesn't include those. I may do something separate on those, or maybe just do a short on those, but that's it. Let me know what your complimented fragrances were for 2024. And are you ready for 2025? What are some predictions? What are some thoughts you got as we move into the new year? If you don't watch this video until the new year, shame on you, because you should have subscribed, but it's okay. All right, anyway, listen, as always, do me a favor, stay safe, stay sane, stay smelling good, and then do me also the honor of hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, requesting notifications, and then sharing, and then meeting me in the comments so we can talk through some of this stuff. All right, y'all have a great one. Be blessed. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Bye.